there is a lot of people right now, and for good reason, focused on the GBTC Bitcoin bleed. GBTC has lost tens of thousands of Bitcoin in this little bleed that's going on right now in the market, and that Bitcoin is finding its way into other funds and finding its way into other vehicles, and some of it, right, is sitting in cash because people have made a lot of money and they want to spend that money, they want to enjoy that money, they want to reallocate that money to other things that they might want to reallocate to, and that is fine, it's up to them. However, the GBTC bleed will slow down, right? People are always talking about, oh my God, I keep seeing this all over Twitter. People are saying the GBTC bleed has got so long to go, blah, blah. They're dumping 10,000 Bitcoin a day, right? They're dumping they're dumping tons, like $700-800 million of Bitcoin was dumped, I think, yesterday. It might have been slightly less, but overall, they've dumped like $4 billion of Bitcoin so far, right? And guess what's happened to the price? It's struggled to drop below 40,000, right? Because people don't understand what's going on here, right? So let's just cover the facts of what's going on. By the way, if you're sitting there now, even with a Bitcoin, an SEC-approved Bitcoin product, and you want to gain allocation to Bitcoin, and you're sitting there and your advisor is not able to tell you about this because they haven't been educated on it, they haven't been taught about it, we're like 10 trading sessions into this thing, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're sitting there and you are not being helped to allocate to Bitcoin by your advisor, they're probably not doing a good job with your friends either. So send this video and the importance of getting this message out to people so they can understand what's coming, so they don't miss out just because the advisor has not been educated. By the way, while you're at it, sending it to 3 or 4 friends, send it to the advisor too, because I would love to help them understand Bitcoin so they can actually start pitching it to people and helping people get it into their portfolio. Because the worst thing that I can imagine happen is, as you guys know the story of my parents, can you imagine if my parents had a financial advisor that couldn't actually educate them on Bitcoin, and now they're sitting there and they're going to miss out on the whole thing while BlackRock and everyone else gets their positions in place? I don't want that to happen. So please send the video and the channel to your friends that I've also got these advisors that don't know what they're talking about, and then send it to the advisor as well so they can learn exactly how to help their clients get into Bitcoin so people don't miss out on the opportunity. But the reality of what's going on right now is that, you know, GBTC has dumped $4 billion of Bitcoin, right, in basically 10 trading sessions. This has never ever happened before, right? This has never ever happened before. There's never been a time where $4 billion of Bitcoin has been liquidated from one source in this time frame. And we got doom and gloom boomers out here in droves talking about how this is just going to continue forever on. It's not going to continue forever on. In fact, yesterday I put a tweet out on the 23rd of January, and I basically said that within 3 weeks, I think it's a prediction, I think that the GBTC bleed will slow down, and we may even see a day of net inflows into GBTC after this bleed has taken into place. And this leads on to a bunch of other things as well. So I'm going to spend the next few days doing videos on what the net effects of this is, why I don't even think BlackRock has even started allocating capital to their Bitcoin fund. So make sure you subscribe to see that video. But let's have a look at the reality of what's going on here, right? 10,000 Bitcoin a day are being reacquired at this point. 10,000 Bitcoin a day are being reacquired by all of these other funds. They're being bought up by BlackRock, by Fidelity, by everybody else, right? In 10 trading sessions, the 9 new ETFs, not including GBTC, have bought or reacquired 100,000 Bitcoin. To put that into perspective, MicroStrategy in 4 years has 189,000 Bitcoin. So in 10 trading sessions, these funds have bought or reacquired from the GBTC bleed 100,000 Bitcoin. What do you think is going to happen over the next 30 trading sessions, right? The key thing to realize is this: the volumes for Fidelity, the volumes for BlackRock on a daily basis keep going up. So, you know, if you're sitting there going, oh my God, and the only metric that you're looking at, the only data point you're looking at is price, I understand that, because most people are only going to be looking at price. But if you want to, the purpose of me having this YouTube channel is to try and explain how the market is seeing things, and to look like the X-ray vision for the market, you got to look at the volumes. The volumes keep kicking up. The volumes keep going up days into the launch of this fund. This is not like, normally what happens is you see a spike of volume and then the volume starts dying. The volume's going up 10 trading sessions in, right? So this is great, right? So we've got 10,000 Bitcoin a day being reacquired or bought by these funds. That's up from 850 to 1,000 Bitcoin a day before the ETF launch, right? Just think about how crazy the demand is in the underbelly of the market over here. You got about 100 to 150 million dollars a day of average net buying across all the trading sessions so far. That's up from probably like 30 to 40 million dollars, right? You've got volumes and inflows increasing over time, not decreasing. And on top of all of that, at this point, you've got advisors that haven't even started selling Bitcoin because they haven't even been trained on how to sell Bitcoin, because a lot of these advisory firms are waiting for the funds to prove themselves. There's probably going to be a couple of funds that decide to close down their fund or roll it into another fund or whatever else that's going on. So they want to wait for all that mess to clear out and then they can start selling it to their clients. And then you've got the fact that the Fed has not even cut rates yet, which is coming. The Fed is going to cut rates this year because on top of the fact that inflation is dying, based on Truflation's data, you're looking at inflation year on year being under 2%. On top of all of that, the Fed has, the USA has got about $8 trillion worth of debt to refi this year. So you think they're going to keep the rates this high? Of course not. So the rates haven't even come down yet, which means risk on capital hasn't even started coming back into the market in droves yet. Right? At the same time, you've got the NASDAQ S&P making brand new all-time highs on a daily basis at this point, right? And I believe that you've got BlackRock and Fidelity sitting on the sidelines that haven't even started allocating. I'm going to do a video on this tomorrow, so please subscribe for this. I don't believe that BlackRock and Fidelity have even started allocating to their Bitcoin funds yet in a major way. And I'm going to do a video on that and what the impact of that's going to be when they actually start doing that. Because if I was them, I wouldn't start allocating. I'd wait for the GBTC bleed to die. I'll get all my marketing in place, right? Look at what BlackRock's achieved, right, in this scenario. They've got the #1 most successful asset class launch to talk about. They've got the most, amount of capital in the shortest period of time coming into their fund to talk about. So why would I need to start allocating my capital if I can just let GBTC do the work for me? So I'm going to do more videos on that and what that means over the next. I'm going to do that tomorrow, so please subscribe for that. Then you've got major advisors that are not even allowed to fill Bitcoin ETF orders because their compliance hasn't even combed through the data, because the compliance has to take time once it's approved to comb through the data and say, okay, you can actually sell this thing. In addition to that, we're talking, everyone's worried about this GBTC bleed. The supply is about to drop on Bitcoin from 900 a day to 450 a day in under 3 months. In under 3 months. So they're buying or reacquiring 10,000 Bitcoin a day. The current supply is 900. It's about to go down to 450. In addition to that, the miners are selling the Bitcoin. Right? So miners might have GBTC positions or they might have Bitcoin positions. They're selling that Bitcoin because generally around the halving, you're going to see a dump. But if you've seen a 200% increase in Bitcoin prices or 100% increase, 100 and something percent increase in Bitcoin prices, and you know that a dump is going to happen before the halving, but the dump starts now, you're going to be sitting there going, let's just generate some liquidity at this point and sell some into the market. By the way, what do miners do going into a bull run? They don't sell. They hold. They hold the Bitcoin on the balance sheet because holding the Bitcoin on the balance sheet increases the value of the mining companies a lot more than actually selling the Bitcoin. So we're about to go into a period where not only is the supply of Bitcoin going to go down from 900 a day to 450 a day, the miners are going to stop selling all of that into the market because they're going to be holding it on their balance sheet to increase the value of the business as we go into that. And in addition to that, options haven't even been filed for. Like, options have been filed for, but they've not been approved yet, which means that Bitcoin's not even a cash flow generating asset yet. That's about to come. So all of this GBTC bleed that's happening, from my perspective, is good for the market. We're seeing reorganization. Based on what Bloomberg said, about 30% of that capital is finding its way into other Bitcoin exposures. And that's cool, which means 70% is sitting on the sidelines, according to Bloomberg, right? About 70% sitting on the sidelines wondering what the hell's going on, right? Because if you're sitting there and you got, wait a second, let me sell my Bitcoin out of my GBTC position, then you start seeing the market slide. What are you going to do? You're going to buy back in? Or you're going to say, hey, let's wait a week and see what happens? Right? And again, not everybody, you're not going to be able to sell 100% of the GBTC Bitcoin holding. So at some point, you're going to start seeing that slow down. And again, it's just, you know, based on what I can see on the data that Bloomberg is releasing around GBTC, I think we are going to see a slowdown in the amount of selling that's coming within the next 3 weeks. And as that happens, I think you're going to see, this is the part that really gets people, I think you're going to see a day of net inflows into the GBTC fund. And why is that? Because GBTC will still have the biggest fund. Right? And tomorrow in my video, when I talk about BlackRock and their allocation strategy, you're going to see why, even as BlackRock, let's say BlackRock gets 150,000 Bitcoin into their fund, while GBTC goes from 650,000 down to 400,000, right? But as BlackRock tries to catch up with that, the amount of capital that they're going to have to put in, the price is going to start running away from them. I'm going to explain all of this in tomorrow's video, so make sure you subscribe for that. But quite simply, there is a lot of people that don't understand how volumes work and how liquidity works. GBTC is going to be a major player here. They may end up lowering their fee once the bleed is finished from 1.5 to 1% and keep all their clients happy that are still in the fund. But the fact that you can have an options market that's based on volumes and liquidity that's much more liquid on GBTC is very, very important. So you're going to see this slow down. GBTC's volumes, you know, you're not just going to sell the whole fund to zero. There's definitely going to be some bleeding, but at some point, BlackRock and Fidelity are going to sit there and go, okay, the bleeding's about to stop. We better start allocating our capital. And that's really the quote-unquote bottom of the market. The bottom of the market is not, you know, like, for example, today. Here's why today is very important, why I released this video today. Because today, you're seeing the price of GBTC and the price of, you know, all of these Bitcoin ETFs up. So why is that? Because remember, there's a T plus 1 or 2 day difference on when the shares are sold versus when the Bitcoin hits the market. So you might see a bunch of Bitcoin hit the market because you know, Coinbase has received it and they have to sell it into the market, but the selling of GBTC might already be done. So today we're seeing, and I'm not saying it's already finished, that's not what I'm saying, it might be slowing down, right? So we're seeing GBTC actually up today while they've sent 17,000 more Bitcoin into Coinbase's Prime Desk to sell. So in my perspective, the way I look at it is if I sell my GBTC shares today on Wednesday, but they don't hit the market till Friday, all of these big block sales that we saw come through might have been from last week. So GBTC bleed is going to slow down. In the next 3 weeks, I think we start seeing it extremely slow down very, very quickly. And then we may even see a day of positive net inflows because people will want their positions in the most liquid fund with the most volume so they can start generating options income on it when that comes out. So this is not going to last forever. The bleed is happening and the underbelly of the market is rotating quite nicely here. Again, BlackRock and Fidelity, I don't even think they've even started allocating any capital that they have, and I'm going to do a video on that tomorrow. But ultimately, if you're watching all of this and you're going, what do I do here? This is the best time to acquire your position. If you're sitting there, you're not at your 1 Bitcoin or more yet, now is the best time to acquire it. You've got the best asset managers in the world in the business. You know, you've got them pitching Bitcoin to their people. You've got people waiting to acquire their Bitcoin that are going to start rotating into the markets. You've got advisors that are starting to sell into it. You've got liquidity that's going to open up. You've got the Fed that's going to lower the rates. You've got the supply that's going to go from 900 to 450 a day. There is a lot of excitement going on in this market. And then today, you're seeing the GBTC share price up while they're sending Bitcoin to be sold, which tells me that we're getting close to some form of either pause in selling or a rotation and an exhaustion of selling. And that data will come out over the next few days, so please follow along to find out. But ultimately, despite all of this underbelly, you know, stuff like that, for you, the main goal is to get your Bitcoin allocation, whether you're buying 1 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin or 100 Bitcoin, get to a minimum of 1 Bitcoin. And ultimately, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.